Have a very, very big welcome for Meg, please.
Thank you, Kelvin. Oh, better not fall over. Hi, everyone. I'm Meg. I'm a director of Shake It Up Creative. We are a design and marketing company based right here in Sussex. So my talk is on using stunning design to leverage your SEO. And wow, we've heard some really good talks already today. And I'm really hoping that some of what I say about graphic design will complement some of what both Matt and John were talking about in their talks. This is a design talk. So I'm going to be talking about graphic design, websites, the people behind web projects, UX, collaboration, and bridging the gap between design and SEO to create smoother projects and better websites, which is, of course, what we all want. The reason we have websites and want them to be found is to communicate something, right? Whatever it is we want to say, whatever it is we want people to do on that website, we have to get that across to them. Graphic design is instrumental in being able to communicate effectively. Its main purpose, even way before websites existed, is to communicate. And it also inspires people to take action. It can be fun. It can be serious. It can be emotive and persuasive. In many ways, graphic design is the creative spirit of your website. People decide really quickly whether they like a website or not. It's something like 50 milliseconds that it takes. That's mainly down to how a website looks. Now, you might think that that's an obvious point, but in my experience as a web and graphic designer, and I work constantly with marketers and SEOs, is that graphic design can sometimes only be considered to be the pretty bits. If there are any graphic designers here, you know what I mean. Our clients sometimes ask for a little bit of that Meg magic. Well, I am definitely not a magician. But graphic design can sometimes actually be a little bit magical because of what it does. It evokes, it communicates, it converts. Graphic design is just one of the many elements that make up a website. You've got to have content. You've got to have a menu structure. You've got to have SEO. But graphic design helps people to trust. And when people trust, they buy. There's your conversion. We all know there's no such thing as a simple website because even a landing page might involve all of the things on this screen or more. So we got to have experts. Now, most of the time, you'll need some of these experts on the screen. Some of the time, you'll need all of them. And other times, you might need even more experts, an animator or a copywriter, for example. These are the people behind the web projects. These are the experts. They're the ones who are getting the job done. And there may be a lot of them. And they might be working remotely or just in the next room. Now, what often happens, and I know this from experience and also from talking to others, is that you sometimes have this. In very simplistic form, the SEO says to the designer, SEO is really important. The designer says to the SEO, design is really important too. Or you have variations of this scenario to varying degrees. I have to confess, this was me after my very first Brighton SEO because I realized just how much I did not know. The positive is that I've learned a hell of a lot and I can now serve our clients better. Now, because websites are complex, this brings challenges to the people who are creating them. There are usually many, many factors, and there could be many people. So throughout the process, things might get muddled up along the way. But clients don't care about any of that. They just want to see results. We want to see results too. We want to see great-looking websites that convert. But you sometimes have a disconnect. When the experts are prioritizing their element of a project, things can get lost in translation. So my question is, how do we bridge that gap between design and SEO to create smoother projects and better websites, which, of course, is what we all want? I think the answer involves three things: UI, UX, and collaboration. From my point of view, I want to create fantastic, stunning, beautiful websites that consider the SEO element from the very start, and vice versa. Well, I wasn't so sure about the vice versa because I'm not an SEO, so I asked. Luckily, these expert SEOs confirmed my thinking. Our lovely friends, Charlie and David, who I think might be somewhere here in the audience. Design and layout influence ranking. So graphic design is pretty important for SEO. Let's start with UI. It's the visual elements used to interact with a device. So for websites, it's the layout, it's the visual elements, those visual indicators, the buttons, the icons, the menus. And you might think, well, these are just small things, but actually they are vital to the user interface of a website. It's kind of like the good things in life. It's the small things that make a difference. It's those little details that can make a positive impact. Let's take this Facebook like button as an example. I learned from this TED Talk that the designers spent 280 hours redesigning this button across several months. This tiny little Facebook button is seen on average over 22 billion times per day across 7.5 million websites. So this little button was pretty important. Well, what does this have to do? How does this apply to the websites that we're creating? Well, it's the visual elements, those visual CTAs that make a website convert. When a website is shit hot, it gets shared, which means you have more inbound links, visibility goes up, and you have higher rankings. Design contributes to how well a website is liked, and how long people stay on it, and what they do on it. And this can make a big difference to search engines. Have you heard of the no one likes to link to a crummy site phenomenon? We've all done it. We've all clicked through to that website that actually hurts our eyes. On the flip side, we've clicked through to that website that is absolutely gorgeous, and it inspires us to explore further and maybe even to buy something. UI is part of UX, and UX encompasses emotions, attitudes, and responses. It's those responses that create an action. One of the rules of SEO is that we need to optimize for humans. Well, what do humans like? We like other humans. We want something that will resonate with us, that will give us that emotional connection. So if we can create that through the design of the website, then we're offering a better experience to the user who will engage for longer, and they will buy, which is the action, and they will share, which is the action. UX influences these ranking factors. These are some of the reasons that companies are constantly redesigning their websites. They want them to look better, to work harder, to convert. Trust is part of UX, so we must design for trust. Some of the trust indicators are beautiful design, high-quality images, just to use a few that are relevant to my talk. When a website is trustworthy, conversion rates rise, links and social shares all increase. How do you design for trust? Well, you use your brand and your brand assets. Brands are doing this all the time, every day, all day long. Your brand or your client's brand might not already be known, so you have to communicate that trust through the quality of your website. You do this by having a shit-hot website that is really quick to load and is accessible across all devices. Ensure that your design is consistent throughout. Ask for brand guidelines and share those around with the team, designer or not, remote or not. Use web fonts. Web fonts can allow you to inject creativity and style into your website without jeopardizing crawlability. Now, I have to admit, as a graphic designer, it is much easier and quicker to create one graphical element that encompasses the text, the image, the color, the button, and call that one image in with CSS, with HTML, and then you're done. However, if you can create the graphic using web fonts, HTML and CSS, then you can still achieve really good SEO and have a great-looking graphic. Georgia O'Keeffe was a master of color. She's one of my favorite artists. If you don't know who she is, look her up afterwards. This is a quote by her. It's really good. Use color to say stuff. Color can have a certain significance sometimes. So for example, orange might be used to signify transition or change. Color can also be used to signal to the user, and it can be used to represent your brand. In this example of the Cadbury website, they're using one of their brand colors to represent the richness of their products. This example is kind of the opposite of that. They're using a brand color in a more subtle way, but you can still see how effective it is. This is a great example of how color is used in photography, which is then used on the website to represent the quality of their offering. This uses one key color to signal to the user what to look at first and what to do on this landing page. Approximately 8% of men and 0.5% of women suffer from some kind of color blindness. So we have to design for that. We have to bear that in mind and ensure that we're using colors that are contrasting enough. Now, there are whole talks on color and accessibility on the web, and I just wanted to briefly touch on that. You can learn more on WebAIM, which is an informational website on accessibility and color, and there's a really cool color contrast checker as well. ColorCube, again, is another website. This one is specifically for web designers and web developers, so check those resources out afterwards. Images and photos can improve the user experience of a website. And, of course, you can add SEO value by using your alt tags. Some of the reasons to use images and photos on websites is because they can help illustrate and tell your story of your company. It can showcase your products, and it can also represent your brand. This photo of myself and my business partner is really well known and well liked in our business community, and it just makes people smile. One of the downsides of using lots of great quality images on your website is it can slow down page loading time. So you must optimize your images before you upload them. I use Photoshop, but if you don't have that or don't have access to that, it's okay, because there are lots of resources online, free resources that you can use to optimize your images. Compressor.io is one, imageresize.org is another. These slides as well will be up on SlideShare afterwards, even though SlideShare is apparently dying. I didn't know that. You can also use HTML and CSS once your images are on the website to further optimize them. So the idea is to upload just one image, and then you can style that image across the website differently. So you can put curved corners, create borders, overlay them on top of other images, use those web fonts that I talked about. So you're reducing the file download time on the website by only uploading one image. And then it could look completely different across the website, depending on how you style them. This is a really good example of some of the things that I've been talking about. The images, the text, and the graphics are created using HTML and CSS. And the design of this website really inspires you to explore further and click on that interactive image gallery and click on the buttons. Image sprites have been around for a long time, and you probably recognize them in social icons and buttons. Again, you're using just one image and then calling that section of the image in using HTML and CSS, which means you're having fewer server requests. SVG, Scalable Vector Graphics, Using these means faster loading times because you can actually build them directly into the source code. Now, designing for mobile first is nothing new, but it does present challenges for designers and SEOs. We're so used to going from the desktop and then going smaller and smaller and smaller and ensuring the design renders correctly on all of the different devices using CSS. Designing for mobile first has been a paradigm shift, and it's been a pretty significant one. And I think it's one that is helping, or maybe forcing a little bit, designers and SEOs and developers to work better together. So going back to my question, how do we bridge that gap? Well, using UI, UX, we're working together to serve up the best experience using all of these design elements for mobile first. Now, for me, it's a little bit like retraining my brain and reimagining the whole design process and going from the mobile up rather than from the desktop down. Now, some of you might be further along down the road with this paradigm shift, and if you are, I'd really like to hear how that is impacted on your teams and how you work together, whether you have in-house teams or you work remotely. So if you do have any insights into this, then talk to me afterwards because I would love to have that conversation with you. Clients as well, it's been a paradigm shift for them too, because they're so used to asking for the mock-ups on the desktop, and then the mobile is usually just an afterthought. This happened just the other day. I was saying to a client that I would be sending over mock-ups for the mobile view, and they said, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. What a great idea. There are mobile-first design tools. There are lots of them out there. These are just a few examples. Just in Mind is a wireframing tool that is specifically for mobiles. Adobe has some really fantastic programs that allow you to create the mobile designs and then share them out with the team. There are responsive frameworks such as Bootstrap that can help as well. But I think the key is collaboration. And when I say collaboration, I just mean talking to each other, asking each other questions. And I don't mean on WhatsApp or Snapchat, I mean good old-fashioned talking. This agency owner told me the story of one of her devs who took ages searching online for some code. And when he found it, he discovered it was actually written by the dev sitting right next to him. So build your design collaboration into your workflow. Involve people early and often. Share your iterations. Learn about what each other does. You don't have to become an expert in everybody's field. But if you have a general understanding, then that will facilitate that collaboration. So to sum up, use stunning design to leverage your SEO. You do this through UI and UX because design is an important part of SEO, and we need to collaborate in order to create smoother projects and better websites, which is, of course, what we all want. Thank you.